I love Reddit advice, and you probably do too. It's not a niche thing, it's everywhere. Whether you consume them through suggested Facebook posts or podcasts, or those like TikTok videos where it's like Minecraft parkour and an AI's reading the story over it to you, these stories are everywhere. They're like a multi-million-dollar industry unto themselves. And every time I see one of these stories, I have a bunch of questions. Are these stories real or are they fake? Is this a new artistic format, or is it just another sign that the internet can't pay attention to anything longer than 30 or 40 seconds? Why are they so popular? So to get to the bottom of that, I wrote a bunch of fake ones and put them online. This video is called Paul Tries to Make the Front Page of Reddit and Understand the Format in the Process. And this isn't my first foray into writing posts in this genre, by the way. I've been very fascinated with his format as a storytelling avenue for a while now, which is why 6 months ago I made a sketch of a fake story about a guy who found out that his family went on vacation without him because they went to the beach that makes you old, from the movie Old.
Turns out that all of them, without me, went on vacation to the beach that makes you old. And it also sucks because I used to be the oldest child, but now I'm the youngest.
I thought it was funny, and America did too, which is why it garnered 31 views. Wow. I have spent dozens and dozens of hours poring over these posts that I'm going to call form advice fiction, and you've probably spent a lot of time looking at these too. Am I the Asshole, the premier subreddit in this genre, has almost 25 million subscribers by itself, and that's just one of many, many different subreddits that fall into the mix in this genre. And do you know why everyone loves them? 'Cause they're awesome. They're fantastic and juicy. Stories of spurned lovers or step-siblings fighting over inheritances, or like paternity tests and long hidden family secrets. And I think a lot of them are fake. I mean, a bunch of the examples I just gave are real stories that I've read, but would be pretty par for the course in like any regular telenovela, you know? And it's not just me who thinks that they're probably fake. Like there's the subreddit Am I the Angel, which is dedicated to just making fun of these posts for being so outlandish. Or the occasional post that just reveals itself as fake, or the timelines don't add up, or the fact that a lot of these posts now have comments that are like, if this is real. My goal? To prove that Am I the Asshole is fake by getting my post featured on it. Attempt number 1. I spent hours agonizing over what my first post was going to be. I brainstormed over and over and over. Just kidding, I came up with the idea almost immediately. And to really set the mood, I'm gonna have an AI voice read the story out loud while I do some real garbage Minecraft parkour underneath it. And I'll interrupt to explain what I think makes up the anatomy of a classic form advice fiction post.
AITA for getting mad at my son for playing with Legos?
Right off the bat, every great form advice fiction post has to have a title that is so inflammatory that when you click it, you think, this guy's gotta be the bad guy. Which is one of the reasons that I think so many of them are fake. Because like half of them have titles where it's like, am I the asshole for checking my husband's dash cam even though I promised him I wouldn't? And you're like, oh, wow. That seems like a betrayal of trust. And then you click on the post and it turns out she was only checking the dash cam because she kept waking up with dead hitchhikers on her front lawn. It's like, what do you think, lady? Do you think you're the asshole here?
I, 33M, have a 5-year-old son, Finn, not his real name, who's the light of my life. I'm an involved parent. He loves baseball and almost every day we throw the ball around in the backyard. His mom, 30F, and I take turns reading to him every night. I know everyone says this about their kid, but he's genuinely a great kid.
All right, here we're getting ahead of the story by showing that we're an involved parent. Remember, Reddit form advice works like 2018 Twitter. If you say that you like pancakes, everyone's gonna be like, well, you hate waffles. You've gotta make sure there are no allegations of absentee fatherism.
The trouble comes because lately Finn's been having trouble with a boundary and it's pitting my wife and I against each other.
Now that's just a good old-fashioned hook, like in all storytelling.
I work a very stressful job that involves some late nights and long weekends. Not all the time, but specifically during my industry's busy seasons it happens. Between that and being an involved parent, I have very little time to myself, which is fine. But one of the ways that I de-stress is that I have a pretty expansive Lego collection. I know, it's a kid's toy whatever, but ever since I was a kid I imagined making enough money that I could buy however many I wanted, and at the end of a long day there is nothing more relaxing than putting on an old record and watching something take shape in front of you.
And here I wrote the Legos and the old record thing because that seems like the sort of hobby people on Reddit would like. It was like either that or like Funko Pops.
Lately, my son has been taking more and more of an interest in Legos, which is great because it's another thing for us to share. I even bought him one of those Lego boxes that's filled with lots of random bricks.
And that part right there is hugely important because remember, no matter what, the main character can never be the asshole. It's not allowed. That's why he's got to be encouraging his son, right?
The problem is when I am not at home my wife keeps letting him into my office to play and he continually gets into the pieces for the sets that I am building, and ends up mixing them up. I wouldn't even care if he was breaking them, but he keeps putting them in different places and it makes it impossible for me to finish these builds. I've asked my wife over and over to either not let him into my office or to make sure he is supervised in there, but she doesn't seem to think that it's a big deal and that I'm taking kids' toys too seriously.
See, this is where the actual crux of the piece comes in. I read an interesting article on QAnon the other day. QAnon, whatever, the other day, and there was a quote that I really liked. He'd discovered a principle of online storytelling that had eluded me all those years ago, but now seemed obvious. The audience for internet narratives doesn't want to read, it wants to write. It doesn't want answers provided, it wants to search for them. It doesn't want to sit and be amused, it wants to be sent on a mission, it wants to do. People in these subreddits want to respond. They want to see the clues and then point out to you and be like, actually, it seems like your wife doesn't take your hobby very seriously. And everyone feels vindicated and smart, even though it's like 8th grade level reading comprehension. And remember, a post on the subreddit can only include 3,000 characters. That's not very many words. Everything that you include is deliberate. There's no room for red herrings. They're only regular colored herrings. And I included this because I wanted the audience to have an opportunity to be like, oh, there we are, and be involved.
I've tried explaining to Finn how it affects me, but I think it's hard for a 5-year-old to distinguish between toys that are for him and toys that are for me. It all came to a head last night. My wife was watching him as I was making dinner, and after a bit I hear a crashing sound and I go upstairs to see he's knocked over a set that I'm working on. I'll admit I lost my cool a little and sent him to his room for a timeout. When I asked my wife where was she during this, she just shrugged and said she didn't think it was that big of a deal. I talked to my son and we had a little heart-to-heart about toys for kids and toys for adults, and I think we're in a good place now. But now my wife is mad at me and has been cold and distant since. So AITA for getting mad at my son?
All right, attempt number 1. Honestly, for my first non-M. Night Shyamalan inspired post, I feel pretty good about it. And I got dozens of messages like immediately, like dozens of people being like, hey buddy boy, you actually don't have a son problem. You've got a wife problem. And then dozens ballooned to hundreds. Throughout the rest of the day, I watched my post rise and rise and rise. I thought I'd figured it out. I'd done it on my first try. Now, if you've listened to that story and you're a fan of Form Advice Fiction or Am I the Asshole or any of that, what are the 2 mistakes that I made? I'll give you a second to go down in the comments and tell me, and then we'll get back to it. All right, that's plenty of time. Mistake number 1. I could have been the asshole. That's the biggest one. There were a lot of comments that were like, everybody sucks here. We can't have that. I accidentally made too nuanced of a post. If you look right now at the top 100 posts from the last year on Am I the Asshole, can you guess how many of them the person actually ends up being voted that? One time. By failing to communicate with my wife and by putting my son in timeout, I could be the bad guy, which is why I got a ratio of about just as many comments as I did upvotes. And what was mistake number 2? I got too cute with it. I named the son character Finn because I thought this was going to be easy. Finn is the name of the boy from the Lego movie, which makes sense because my story was also the plot of the Lego movie. And you'd be surprised by the amount of people who made that connection and then commented and were like, dude, you gotta see the Lego movie. I think you'd really connect with it. But it was too cute, which is why at 2 a.m., after receiving hundreds of messages telling me I should divorce my wife, I got this message. My post had been removed from Reddit. And then I was banned. But this taught me a couple of things about Am I the Asshole as a subreddit. Number 1, the moderation is better than you think, which is going to be a consistent theme for the rest of this video. Second off, it taught me that everyone on this subreddit is actually useless at giving you advice. And if you're earnestly looking for advice on Reddit, you might be a stupid person. The morality of Am I the Asshole? Look, I know I'm not the first person to question the morality of getting advice from strangers on Reddit, but now that I've experienced it, I feel even stronger.
There's something very strange about posting one of these and then going about your day. I mean, I was out at a show and still receiving messages calling me, and more importantly, my wife, bad people. After message like 600, I was like, don't talk about my fake wife like that. And here's the thing, what, my wife doesn't respect me because she lets my kid play with my Legos?
What if I told you the only reason we can afford those Legos is because my fake wife worked 2 fake jobs to put me through fake medical school? What if I told you that we just moved across the country for my job and she's a stay-at-home mom and she feels frustrated and isolated? These posts are so divorced from nuance because they're told from a single side in less than 3,000 characters. It's like how nobody in real life's breakup has ever been their fault. Like when you have two mutual friends who break up, the story both of them tells paints them as the good guy. Experience is really subjective, and to flatten it down to 3,000 characters is basically useless. But here's the thing, that's not a problem. That's not a bug, that's the feature. That's why we love it. It's a socially acceptable opportunity to just dump on someone. All right, attempt number 2. Post number 1 was done, but I felt energized. If within one try I could do that good, how could I do even better? I'd learned from my mistakes. This time I wanted to make the post stand out in a believable way, but still in a fun way.
I took another idea that I came up with in my 30 seconds of brainstorming. Am I the asshole for making fun of my brother-in-law's failed business as a joke?
The premise: our main character's boyfriend is insulted by her brother-in-law, so she makes fun of the brother-in-law's failed business. A classic form advice fiction arc. But this one didn't come to mind immediately like the Lego one. This one took a little more work. I wrote it out over and over, and then I got the twist. Make the boyfriend a beekeeper. I think beekeeper is a good job because it's just weird enough that somebody wouldn't make it up, right? And then the story twisted for me. Now, instead of making fun of the boyfriend for nondescript reason, he's making fun of him for being a beekeeper by putting on the bee movie. Like how Jeff kept referencing the movie Ghost to Tony Hale's character in that episode of Community, which I did reference in the post, you know. This one had legs. I knew it. I mean, what a great title. Would I be the asshole for refusing to go to my sister's house because of the movie they put on? Come on, that's gas. It's silly enough that I could imagine it on a Minecraft parkour video, but also like dumb enough that I don't think somebody would make it up. It's not like, it doesn't immediately scream like AI like some of these boring fake stories. And Reddit agreed with me. Within minutes, there were dozens of messages, and within an hour, there were hundreds. This was on a much better pace than the original, and then something crazy happened. I got a DM from somebody saying, hey, your brother-in-law made a post, which is crazy because I don't have a brother-in-law and I don't exist. Within half an hour, somebody else had made a retaliatory Reddit post playing the heel. I was so excited because this is the sort of stuff I love and the sort of stuff that I wanted to prove existed. An opportunity for a creative, unique, communal act of play. That's so cool. But I was also starting to feel a bit bad. I think one of the reasons this format succeeds so well is because it doesn't have real characters. The anonymity allows us to put ourselves in the shoes of anyone, basically. We've all felt disrespected by friends or family members or felt embarrassed about a job or something like that. I had somebody DM me saying that I needed to stand up for myself and that they also used to be a beekeeper and they respect the profession. That's kind of cool. It's cool that there's an opportunity for that. And that made me feel bad. I'm like, I'm lying to you right now. But the messages kept coming in. Once again, I had it. I'd proven how silly this subreddit was, but also how capable it was of making something interesting. But then again, I got a message saying that my post had been removed. I appealed, but there was no response. I looked at my brother-in-law's post and it had been removed too. In retrospect, I think my brother-in-law playing along may have caused undue attention to the post pretty early on, but honestly, I think it was doomed from the start. Because an hour later, I got an email saying that my Reddit account had been banned. Shock. I put my best detective hat on, and I did some sleuthing, and I think the mistake that I made was using the exact same email and IP address as the account that had been banned the day before. You live and you learn. And here I'd like to say I'm sorry to the moderators. I felt bad the entire time I was doing it. I felt very guilty. I am sorry. I don't really understand why you do what you do, but I respect the keepers of order in a world of chaos, so I apologize. And honestly, this is where my goal kind of changed from having the top post on Am I the Asshole to just having one that stayed up. Because I tried going down different avenues. I downloaded a VPN, I tried using new browsers. But the problem is, to make a fake Reddit post, you need a fake Reddit account. And to have that, you need a fake email. And to have a fake email, you need a fake phone number. And I am not technologically literate enough to make that happen. And I know, because I tried for a long time. And this is where the video gets tricky, because how do you post on a subreddit when you can't post on a subreddit? The solution? Recruiting your friends. Some of them were happy to do it. Some of them were not. Some of them mostly just seemed really confused. I just wanted to shout out my friend Nick, who's such a good guy that he doesn't understand what a lie is. He was like, well, what do you want me to post? I'm like, and I sent him what the story was. And he's like, but you don't have a stepson. And this is where the pressure began to get to me. The stress of having to write something and then use other people's precious time and energy to post it made me get way too precious with everything that I was writing. I would edit it over and over. I overdid it. Especially this one, a story about a woman canceling going to her best friend's book unveiling because she reads some of it and realizes it's him confessing his love to her. And like, yeah, that sounds fun, but it's too much. It's too much. You get 3,000 characters. I added a lesbian lover, a party, a friend group, expectations. It just didn't work. And I was like embarrassed even sending it to my friend. Shout out Hunter. And then I was even more embarrassed when the post got removed. And then I was even more embarrassed than that when the account got banned. And then I was even more embarrassed than that when his main account that he'd had for years on Reddit also got banned. Shout out Hunter. I got introspective. I was starting to hurt other people. And most importantly, I was spending too much time writing these fake posts.
I spent like hours writing these fake Am I the Asshole posts that I can't post. I feel like such an idiot. I'm like, this isn't a real thing.
They're flopping. They hate me. I'm having a bad hair day. I started seeing the world in Am I the Asshole terms. Everyone I met was 24F, 29M. Everyone became black and white to me. My friends would tell me about an argument they got into with their girlfriend. I'm like, you should divorce her. They're like, what? And seriously, these posts took a lot of time. I spent thousands of words writing and rewriting these stupid posts for some reason. And this video was getting way too big. Sometimes these videos are easy to make. Sometimes they take 15 hours or 20 hours. This video that edits the permutations, all the different scripts that I've written both for the video and for the actual posts that I put online has numbered over 30,000 words. And let's be honest, it didn't need to. It was my darkest of days. I couldn't get through the Reddit mods. Everything was getting deleted. And then I made a post that didn't get deleted. And it's still up there. Am I the asshole for returning my stepson's birthday present? It didn't crush. Almost nobody saw it, but some people did. It's not great. In fact, it's not even that interesting. It's the story of a woman who finds out that her stepson has been bullying someone, so she returns the Nintendo Switch that she got him for his birthday. If I still had my spark in me, I'd throw in something more interesting about how the husband wanted to play with the Nintendo Switch, but it was too subtle. I don't care though, it's up there. I'm now part of the canon. Someday I could be scrolling on TikTok and I could see somebody be like, am I the asshole for returning my stepson's birthday present? I'd done it. I had contributed. And I was done. So what did we learn? Mostly we learned that I can't do more videos like this because it takes up a bunch of my time and I get weirdly manic during it. But more importantly, what did we learn about the format? Why do I think that it succeeds and why is it so popular right now? It's bite-sized. I don't think it's a coincidence that this genre blew up right around the beginning of the TikTok era. If you divorce forum advice fiction from its stated purpose, which is to give advice, and take it at its face value, what is it? Personal, modern, interactive short stories, with an emphasis on the short part. We've all heard that the written word is dead, but I don't think that's true. I think the average person now reads more words than at any other point in history. They're just not in long form. Instead of watching a 40-minute soap opera or telenovela or any episode of TV, forum advice fiction breaks down the storytelling traditions into their base components and just delivers it immediately. Breakneck pace. I'm upset, somebody stole my inheritance, somebody broke up with me, I've been wronged. Just enough time for us to see it and be like, oh, that is messed up. Get a little outraged, maybe send it to somebody, and then move on to the next thing. It's the perfect blend of fiction and nonfiction. If my forgeries are hung long enough in the museum, they become real. David Shields. The anonymity of all of this encourages us to read it as nonfiction, even if it is fictional. Nobody wants to be told a story in 2025. We want to witness one. People have consumed so much more art and entertainment in this era of human history than any other before, and it's not even close. Everyone can point out plot holes or storytelling techniques now. Like when people point out a sitcom character taking a phone call and they're like, yes, 4 o'clock, I'll be right there. And then somebody's like, well, how fast was the person on the other side of the line talking? And it's like, You want a realistic pause? Form advice fiction works because it's so bare bones that it feels authentic. We don't feel like we're being lied to because there are no bells and whistles, and modern audiences hate nothing more than bells and whistles. Like, think about the great lengths that so many influencers and performers go to act like the things that they're saying are off the cuff, like they just thought of it, like it's natural. It's not. There's a script for this video. Or like how influencers will record videos from the inside of their car in the driver's seat because it's confessional. That's the way that real people do it. But once you see these people doing it for like the 100th time, you're like, that person walked their car specifically to record that video. Or like that guy on TikTok who's always recording videos while chopping vegetables. How much food are you making? Form advice fiction is writing without any of the puff, without putting on any airs at all. It's a response to the market's demand for authenticity, as well as the market's inability to tell what's real and what isn't. We love a confessional. The confessional nature of form advice fiction is especially tantalizing in an era where we're obsessed with voyeurism and watching from afar. I spend most of my time watching people that I don't know or don't care about. Scroll through TikTok or Instagram Reels or any of these different spaces, and everything still feels really anonymous, even if there are faces and names attached to it. Because we scroll so quickly, we spend so little time with each creator, everything feels anonymous. I've watched dozens of videos of people crying in cars or talking about a breakup, and these are people that I don't know, and somehow that lack of knowledge doesn't really impact my ability to care or be invested. That's what form advice fiction capitalizes on. We don't need characters because where else do we get them? The nature of modern content is anonymity, even if your face is attached to it. And the thing that I think is most interesting about what form advice fiction does is that it's both voyeurism and exhibitionism at the exact same time. Because now everyone on these subreddits knows that they're being watched. Their language and behavior has changed because of it. Look at the best posts now on any of these subreddits, the ones on best of Redditor updates, all that sort of stuff. There's way more people now who are like, oh, people from my hometown saw this. Oh, my sister saw this. Oh, so-and-so showed up in the comments. The roots for looking for actual advice are like so gone because how can you look for actual advice when you're performing for an audience? It's like how theater has the pretense of being real, but every actor on stage is cheating out to the audience. To perform, you angle yourself to the audience. You're doing something that you wouldn't have done if they weren't there. You want to be a real voyeur? You want to see what it looks like when people are actually looking for advice and not for attention? Go onto the subreddit r/theotherwoman. It's a subreddit for people who are the other woman in a relationship. They're with a married man. And I'm telling you, go on there. That's what real advice looks like. That's like what people who aren't doing this for attention, that's what it looks like. It's so raw and it's real and it's very, very interesting. And you spend time looking at subreddits and reading stories and advice like that. And then you go back to am I the asshole or relationship advice. And all I can think about is how everyone who's writing these stories is cheating out to the audience. It's super interactable in both the best and the worst way. Nobody wants to read anymore. Everybody wants to write. Form advice fiction brings us as viewers into it. Not just the people commenting on the actual videos, but you and me, the people on these podcasts talking about it. It exemplifies one of the worst things that the internet accentuates, which is our hive minds and our high horses. Because in the real world, we're all these wonderfully flawed, failing, trying our best human beings. Everybody's out here doing our best. We give our friends and loved ones grace and we hope they do the same to us. But on the internet, it's different. The anonymity brings something else out. The group brings something else out, and it's something kind of bad. There's nothing better than reading a 3-sentence description of who somebody is, only for us to be like, well, you should break up with them. Mess around and find out. They shouldn't have played with you. That's what happened with my fake wife. I know I said it before, but all of the advice on these subreddits is so very, very 2018 Twitter. Like, oh, your wife loves pancakes? Well, you should divorce her because she actually hates waffles. Because it feels good to judge. I like doing it. You like doing it. It puts others down and it brings us up. It's like how my TikTok is filled with so many clips right now of Kate and Toby from This Is Us, a show that I've never watched once in my life. But they get into an argument. I go into those comments and I'm like, Kate shouldn't be treating Toby like that. He deserves better. Does he? I don't know. I haven't watched the show. But I still feel strongly about it. That's an impulse of mine that's easy to capitalize on. And form advice fiction appeals to that natural instinct that we have. And even better, it makes it feel like it's okay. Everyone who's posting on there 99% of the time is just trying to get thousands of people to comment how somebody in their life is a bad person. Isn't that bad? And maybe that's why I think they're fake, because I want them to be. I hate this idea that there are thousands and millions of us out there looking for any opportunity to put our loved ones in the lines of fire. And finally, it's perfect for the modern entertainment landscape. It's perfect reaction content. It almost exists more off of Reddit than it does on Reddit. Not just for us to respond to, but for people that we like to respond to. The internet values quantity over quality, but unfortunately, it also really values quality. Let's say I spend about 50 hours on this video and it ends up being about 20 minutes. And in 50 hours, some YouTube account or podcaster can read 50 hours of Reddit content that somebody else wrote that is juicy and engaging. That's 50 hours of content. Form advice fiction exists to prop other people up. Like when I made my Lego post, almost immediately there was a post on Vogue with a very, very similar premise. Admittedly, though, with a different, more exciting ending. Or like, how many of them are clearly AI generated? Go to ChatGPT right now. Ask ChatGPT if you're the asshole for making fake Am I the Asshole posts on Reddit. People need these posts to keep going. It's like a symbiotic relationship. Form advice fiction exists so that other things can too. And those things push more people to write more form advice fiction. It's a circle. We're closing up. Why is it important? Why have I spent so much time thinking about this? In the 2nd century BC, Terence said, "There's nothing to say that hasn't been said before." We've already said everything we're going to say. Every story is a variation on the same themes and ideas that we've been grappling with for thousands of years. The only thing that's really changed is the way that we tell those stories, the avenues through which we express those themes and emotions. I think if there's a new format that millions of people are engaging with, it doesn't matter whether it's good or whether it's bad, you just have to admit it's kind of important to talk about. In an era where I think traditional media has trouble depicting our fractured online world, or in an era where our best filmmakers are obsessed with making movies about previous eras where we already have the answers, I think that new media has something to say about us as a culture and as a society that's interesting on a broader scale, even if the content itself isn't necessarily. I also think it's interesting artistically. One of the first drafts for this essay was actually titled, Is Am I the Asshole Art? And I don't think it necessarily is, but I don't think that means that it never can be. There's been a lot of discourse recently on Twitter about fan fiction in traditionally published books and whether Wattpad could ever trump a traditionally published book artistically, and I think they can. I don't think most of them do, or maybe even any of them do, but I don't think there's anything inherently valuable about one format more than another. There are webcomics that are better than some novels. There are short stories that are better than some movies. There are some commercials that are more interesting than paintings. For sale, baby shoes never worn. 6 words, but it's something. I don't know where the style of writing will go or even can go, but I hope it goes somewhere interesting. I hope that somebody does try taking advantage of the format and creating something that transcends what we have now. Like there's some threads on No Sleep, a short horror fiction subreddit that mimic and use the language of Am I the Asshole? And I think that's really cool. Remember, all fiction started as nonfiction. Writing began as note-keeping, movies as documentaries, paintings were just literally the best chance they had to capture what something looked like. The origin of the novel lies in its pretense of actuality. David Shields. Format influences art, influences culture. Vote with your attention. And now, because I've been working on this video for so long, I'm never going to read another one of those stories again. I'd like to shout out David Shields, who influenced a lot of my thinking on this video. His book, Reality Hunger, is great. I think it's so pertinent, and I think it's like, he wrote it in the 2010 or 2011, and it's basically gotten everything right, I think, about new media. I think that's very interesting. And now, with all of that being said, the final question. Dear YouTube, am I, 23M, the A for getting you to click on this video with clickbait? Maybe.